Good day from a very sunny South Africa, and welcome to the audience that's sharing with us and live listening in on a conversation that Invest South Africa is having with the South African Medical Technology Industry Association. Once again, thank you, Tanya, for sharing the platform with millions of people that could be looking at South Africa as a leading investment and preferred investment destination. A number of companies are already operating in the country, and a number of companies already are looking to operate in the country. And we, as Invest South Africa, a division within the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, are responsible to support foreign direct investors and facilitate the various strategic engagements with the different spheres of government as they navigate their investment journeys with us. And on doing that, your organization, Tanya, represents a wide spectrum of companies as well as associations. Can you shed some light on the importance of the MedTech sector to South Africa, as well as the role that it plays within the South African economy, and why it has become even more important to the economy today as we speak, and also the role that your organization plays and how it can support those companies that want to do business with South Africa. Over to you, Tanya.
Thank you, Ashmi. So I'm going to start off with a little bit about who we are. SAMED, as you mentioned, is the South African Medical Technology Industry Association. We are a not-for-gain voluntary association, and we've been around since 1985. You're quite right. Our membership is quite diverse, and is reflective of a complex industry, including multinationals, distributors, wholesalers, and local manufacturers. We also have two association members, the Medical Device Manufacturers of South Africa, that represents only local manufacturers, and SALDA, the Southern African Laboratory and Diagnostics Association, whose members sell in vitro diagnostics. So SAMED really exists to be a voice for the medtech sector in South Africa, but also to provide our members with a credible, objective platform for engagement with all stakeholders, be they both national. Our vision is to ensure a sustainable, transformed, and ethical medtech sector. So who is medtech in South Africa? We are a conglomerate of a variety of companies. Although the majority of medtech companies in South Africa are importers, we are seeing an increased focus and drive to grow the local manufacturing sector. In terms of healthcare and medtech innovation in South Africa, we actually have quite a strong legacy in this regard. And I just want to share a few examples in terms of this. South Africa was actually home to the first heart transplant in 1967. I'm not sure if you know, but the CAT scanner was actually developed in South Africa. A few years ago, a low radiation dose X-ray system that takes a full body scan in just 13 seconds, the first of its kind in the world, was developed and produced in South Africa. It even got the attention from the makers of the popular American television drama, Grey's Anatomy. Safety syringes have been developed in South Africa to provide improved protection against needle stick injury and contamination by, more recently, the Ebola virus and also hepatitis and HIV. And this invention has saved countless lives. And in the last few years, at a South African academic public hospital, one of our professors pioneered the world's first middle ear transplant using 3D printed bones. So why invest in South Africa? Well, we have a significant health budget. We're looking at approximately 59 million Rand in 2023 and 2024. And a quite significant portion of that budget is going to go to communicable and non-communicable diseases, to the extent of about 27 million Rand. We have also earmarked budgets for primary health care and hospital systems and our national health insurance. And amongst all of these programs, medical technologies, be they simple medical devices, be they in vitro diagnostics, which are used to diagnose, be they sophisticated robotic surgery, is needed. So how does it work in South Africa? In general, multinational companies and international manufacturers often operate in a joint venture or distributor capacity with local firms. Our local manufacturers tend to be small or medium-sized businesses with less than 50 employees, and they often combine some distribution activity with manufacturing. In terms of the value of the sector, the output by our local industry is estimated at between 200 and 300 million US dollars, of which more than half is exported out of South Africa. And Africa, interestingly enough, is our largest export partner in terms of MedTech. Our local manufacturing industry is focused quite substantially on bandages and dressings. Wheelchairs, medical furniture, and orthopedic implants also make up the mix. However, in the last year or so, due primarily to COVID, we have seen a marked increase in the local manufacture of masks, PPE, and more sophisticated equipment such as ventilators. And even serological and PC COVID-19 tests are being developed. So South Africa's MedTech market is expected to grow year on year in terms of approximately over 8% between the years 2019 and 2035. And this increase in the country comes from both local and international manufacturing companies. So we're seeing a high single-digit growth in terms of local currency, and there is certainly an increased focus and investment by our government on the local manufacturing MedTech sector. The Department of Trade and Industry and Competition have a number of incentives and funding programs in place to support local manufacture. They're also embarking on a very exciting initiative called the Health Master Plan that is targeting the development of the local MedTech industry. And in terms of the leading causes of death in South Africa, which is important, you'll note that medical technology is being used more and more in terms of diagnosis and treatment. So what we're seeing in South Africa as our middle class becomes more affluent is a marked increase in non-communicable diseases. So whereas HIV and TB are and still were and are still very much the leading causes of death in South Africa, what we are seeing is a huge increase in diseases such as diabetes, cardiovascular, other forms of heart disease, hypertension, ischemic heart disease, etc. And all of these diseases require certain types of medical technology. So as these incidents in lifestyle diseases increase, so too does the need for advanced diagnostic and therapeutic facilities. Also, as do many other countries in the world, we have a shortage of medical personnel. So MedTech products that require less medical personnel input, such as robotic type devices, are starting to grow in demand. We have a large and growing population. We have a strong private healthcare sector, and the quality of South Africa's transport infrastructure is strong. And South Africa really is regarded as the hub for doing business into the rest of Africa. What we're seeing is increasingly more and more companies that are based here in South Africa that only did business in South Africa or did local manufacture in South Africa and exported into other countries are increasingly doing more business into Africa. We've also seen an increase in local production of skin and surface disinfectants. Another result coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic response. So to software applications, electromedical devices, and biomedical type MedTech products. Over to you, Reshma.
Thanks, Tanya. And that certainly has built the landscape, really taking advantage of these opportunities that now get presented. Of course, we always look at these traditional sectors for growth, but we're seeing very much since the advent of COVID that the healthcare sector is certainly becoming a growth for opportunity itself. And what we're also seeing is that the ongoing pandemic continues to change the health landscape. I mean, medical technology, as you've indicated, has become a part of everyday life. And research and development has certainly created the need and further exacerbated by COVID, has catapulted MedTech into the spotlight, of course. And we've seen, or at least we also hear of, the resilience of the MedTech sector. So in your opinion and in the experience and the knowledge that you've had and in your exposure with the MedTech companies itself, where do you see the growth and opportunities, both globally and locally? And how can South Africa tap further into bringing those opportunities into South Africa?
Great. So I think that in terms of South Africa, we are moving towards a universal healthcare coverage system. And I think that in itself is a big opportunity for MedTech. There is increased financing and platforms that will be put in place to ensure procurement of MedTech products to support national health insurance. We're also seeing an increase in public-private partnerships. So during the pandemic, for example, there was a public-private partnership that continues today called Business for South Africa. And that really brought together all the key stakeholders, government, National Department of Health, trade and industry, science and innovation, as well as the private sector. And we've seen some incredible spin-offs in terms of that. We've seen startup companies in the MedTech sector. We've seen existing companies being able to ramp up their production of MedTech-related products specifically for COVID. In terms of what is coming our way, I think that due to COVID, we are going to see a lot more in the area of point of care and diagnostics. We're going to see an increase in nanotechnology. As cancers increase, we're going to start seeing different types of treatments, and nanotechnology certainly is one of those. COVID has brought about a whole new way of working, a whole new way of treating patients. So the old model of hospital-based healthcare, I think, is changing. What we're seeing is that people are starting, healthcare professionals also are starting to work remotely. And so we're going to see a greater need for remote surgical assistance type devices. We're seeing already that digital therapies and artificial intelligence is starting to gain momentum. Telemedicine came to the fore, particularly during COVID. One of the largest medical schemes in South Africa actually reported a 30-fold increase in virtual GP consultations in the period 2019 to 2020. We're seeing a rise in home healthcare type medical devices and in remote monitoring products and biosensors and wearables. Thanks, Rashmi.
Thanks, Tanya. So this leads to the next question, because there's certainly a number of opportunities and the potential to really untap this particular market in its full sense of the value chain as well. So, there's so much being said about the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement and how it's gaining traction amongst the non-African countries, again, recognizing and forming partnerships with a number of countries on the continent. And certainly from what you've said, we definitely are seeing a further growth or a boost for MedTech manufacturing under this particular agreement. How do you think, companies, both existing already in South Africa, those that want to come into South Africa, can really tap into taking full advantage of this opportunities that are presented by this agreement? And if there are companies already existing that want to expand, how do they adapt themselves to really build on this commercial case to scale up their manufacturing capability?
So this is probably one of the most exciting initiatives to come to the African continent in the last while. And this trade agreement is going to create the world's largest free trade area. Already 54 member countries have signed the agreement, and 30 more have deposited their instruments of ratification with the African Union Commission. And what this trade agreement is going to do is it will make provision for both regional and continental value chains. Africa's healthcare and wellness sector is projected to reach in the region of about $259 billion by 2030. And the African MedTech market is expected to grow at a rate of 8.97% between 2019 and 2035, primarily due to public-private partnerships to develop hospitals, government new insurance schemes, and really a growing middle class and an aging population. We're also finding that African regulatory authorities are becoming more sophisticated, and there is a desire to harmonize not just trade arrangements, but also regulatory requirements for MedTech. So the trade agreement will have a three-pronged approach. There is a desire to pool procurement. There is also a desire to really focus and support local production of MedTech. And as I mentioned, to harmonize regulatory and quality frameworks. So I think that this trade agreement is really going to bolster and boost trade, both from South Africa into the rest of Africa, but also between African countries.
Thanks, Tanya. So, just taking from that, right? I mean, we obviously have to catapult and we have to adapt. We have to look at different things, almost resetting and renewing and re-strategizing how we look at our business cases itself. How are we embracing technology within the MedTech sector? And do you have examples of what we are doing as South Africa in embracing this technology into the companies that obviously are further enhancing their medical technologies?
So I think a really good example, a more recent example, is that of the South African electronic vaccine digital system. And that really came about as a collaboration between the private and public sector. Also, in the MedTech sector, what we're seeing is companies are starting to embrace virtual technologies to market their products, to train healthcare professionals on their products. Previously, this was all done face-to-face, but clearly with COVID, we've had to review how we engage and how we collaborate. We're also seeing amongst our regulator, for example, that they're going to be looking at regulating software as a medical device. So, and this is very much in alignment, I think, with what's happening around the rest of the world. South Africa has quite a sophisticated healthcare system. So we're divided into a public system as well as a private healthcare system. But in terms of both, what we are seeing is an increased uptake in digital technologies to really support the functioning and the efficiencies of both the public and private sector.
Thanks for that, Tanya. And so it brings me to another question related, or at least that field of that. You talk about partnerships and the the power behind partnerships, behind private and public partnerships, and of course partnerships with multinationals and local companies. Can you just perhaps take us through the importance of partnerships and how it can really lend its hand to those companies that may not necessarily have embarked on these investment journeys, how they can partner with not only your organization, but with government and other South African-based companies to be able to further entrench their manufacturing footprint?
So I think that if you're an investor looking to get a footprint in South Africa, I would recommend that you really consider how you can share some of your knowledge base, particularly in the quality management systems, the manufacturing requirements for MedTech. Although we have a relatively small local manufacturing industry, there is a significant drive to grow that industry. I think, as with many countries, COVID made us realize that we were over-reliant on imported MedTech products that were used to deal with the pandemic, to diagnose and to treat patients, and even to administer the vaccine. So we need those skills, we need the know-how, those international manufacturers that are based elsewhere, that are considering coming to South Africa, that see South Africa as a place to invest in. I think the challenge that I'd like to put to you is that when you do come here and you really want to make a difference, is to share that manufacturing expertise, pass it on, and look to partner with local manufacturers, and so grow our economy, and in so doing, grow your investment. There are numerous incentive programs in South Africa offered by various entities, and I know Rashmi will share that with you. But just as an example, a more recent initiative is the MEDIC initiative, which is the Medical Device and Diagnostics Innovation Cluster. And that is a consortium of industry, various ministries, the Department of Science and Innovation, Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, the South African Medicines Research Council, and we have earmarked significant funds for innovative ideas in terms of medical devices and diagnostics, and also how we can get those products to market and to commercialization.
Thanks, Tanya, for that. And as you rightly said, there's a myriad of incentives and programs across government that can be offered to companies that are looking to invest in the country. And whilst all these programs are in different divisions of different departments and implementing agencies, that is one of the reasons that Invest South Africa, which is your partner in your investment journey, that can help you to navigate through these different stakeholders, can help you to be able to get the information and help you to be able to engage with these strategic stakeholders that impact on your business itself. So, whilst we offer a host of support, we also offer information and offer advice that further strengthens the business case to make that investment in South Africa itself. And so with that, Tanya, we're coming to a close and to an end of this really insightful conversation with a number of takeaways from it itself. But if you have to leave the audience with just a few words, to really think about South Africa and the region as an investment destination, what are sort of the key words or key phrases or key elements that you would want them to think about when they're making business decisions about where to put their next investment?
So I think firstly, come to South Africa because it is an incredibly beautiful country with a wonderful climate. But apart from that, when you're in the business of MedTech, it's about making a difference. It's about healing people, it's about treating them, it's about giving them a better quality life. And there are so many South Africans and so many Africans that are in dire need of really good quality, safe, effective medical technologies that will make a difference to their life, that will support our growing economies. And we look forward to embracing you and having you here and helping us make the difference.
Thank you so much, Tanya, for sharing your insights, for sharing your experience, for sharing those words with a number of different countries that are listening to us at this moment, really wanting to take that next step into South Africa itself. And so for those that have listened on this conversation, you would have heard about the importance of MedTech to the country and the region, the innovations in MedTech, the trends and opportunities, the Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement and the opportunities that it presents, the support measures to companies that are looking to set up in the country, and most importantly, your partner that is really here to handhold you through this journey and through this investment experience. And so with that, we would like to thank Tanya and thank the association for their time and spending it talking to you and expressing why South Africa should be that preferred destination for investment. And with that, I want to wish all of you a wonderful rest of the day, and thank you. We are really a click or a button away, and we look forward to engaging with you further. Thank you.